The Springboks were now forced to face a harsh reality. From their point of view, they had battled a huge number of injuries, bad refereeing decisions and the brutal tactics of Kevin Skinner. And now they were facing an inevitable defeat. Exhausted and homesick, they'd had enough.
I have heard comments, some of the South Africans couldn't accept defeat, and some of the South Africans wouldn't accept defeat. Whether that ever was the true case, I'm not sure.
As the final minutes ticked away, there was still time for more controversy.
And as I hit the ground, all of a sudden I felt this tremendous area of pain just go up my spine, which shot me out sort of rigidly.
There's a wee bit of funny business going on over there now.
I'm very sorry that Tony White was kicked in the back. Tony White was a great lock forward. He wasn't meant to be kicked. It was a mistake.
Becker told me that they plotted to get Skinner and get him in any way they could. Several of the Springbok players had a meeting and they wanted to do something, perhaps outside the laws. It
was intentionally done. They went out to get this guy.
They took their plan to the manager, Donnie Craven, but Craven said, no, don't do this. This is not what Springboks do to win a game. And Becker told me, and as he told me, big tears came into his eyes, and he told me he'd carried this secret in his heart from 1956 through over 45 years. Breaking down, as he told me, he now knows that he kicked the wrong man. And he had to stand there and watch as they took away the wrong player. But it was a controversial moment in what was a hugely dramatic moment in the relationship between New Zealand and South African rugby.
And Gray breaks with the ball.
The All Blacks had avenged the humiliation of 1949, and for the first time ever, a Springbok side had lost an international series.
This is the end of the game. New Zealand 11, South Africa 5.
And of the 15 players that played it on one side and the 15 on the other, there was an enormous amount of that torridness, that tremendous intensity that I've never experienced in any other game I've ever played.
Well, the All Black team is leaving, and the best of luck to them. And if they find things tricky...
As the rivalry headed into the 60s, South Africa's policy of apartheid became increasingly more difficult to ignore. Whatever the sentiments of the players or the spectators, the decisions had already been made by the powerful rugby unions.
Well, we were told by the rugby union not to think about this issue. This is our business, boys. We'll solve this. You stay out of it.
Until 1970, their approach was straightforward, and generations of Maoris were denied the opportunity of playing in South Africa. The New Zealand Rugby Union simply accepted the South African position.
But it was a disappointment because the Maoris felt that we had Maoris playing for the All Blacks, and you know, what was the disappointment for them? Well, we had to accept it too. I mean, if you were playing, you had to accept it.
People like the great George Napier never played in South Africa. He was obviously a contender for the team in 1928. And other great players like Jimmy Mill and Paiwai of the great team that had gone through Britain unbeaten in 1924, they never played in South Africa.
But that is an indication of how important rugby is, that it was so important for New Zealand to play rugby against us that they were willing to actually insult their Maori people.
I don't think there was ever many players that ever thought of not going, because just South Africa was a traditional enemy, and to play them in rugby was the ultimate, and it was sad that Maoris couldn't go.
Every player had a different view, like 1965 Springbok John Gainsford.
Gainsford bursts out of South Africa's 25. With one hand he passes back to Brainard, and he passes to Rangi.
Ron Rangi and I were out together when our then Prime Minister, Dr. Verwoerd, made the statement that the Maoris wouldn't be welcome in South Africa on the next tour. And I can remember Tommy Bedford coming in and telling us that, and he said it in Afrikaans. And Ron Rangi looked at me and said, "What was that?" I could have told him a lie and walked out, but I wasn't prepared to do that because, you know, Ron Rangi was, I considered him a mate. And I said, "Ron, he's just made a statement that our Prime Minister has said that Maoris won't be welcome when the next New Zealand tour inside comes." And Ron Rangi said to me, "That's for the politicians, man. We rugby players, we don't worry about that."
Finally, the New Zealand Rugby Union could no longer accept the situation, and in an act of defiance against the South African government, they refused to tour in 1967 without Maori players.
I think in 1967, the government of New Zealand decided that they really must act. And so, as history now shows, they did the right thing. They said, "Look, we will come, but we'll only come if we can bring our complete team. Maoris, Pacific Island players, no matter who. We will select the players, you'll welcome them." And they said no.
Their policy forced change, and in 1970 the All Blacks arrived in South Africa with 4 honorary whites. Fighting apartheid from his prison cell on Robben Island, Nelson Mandela did not approve.
Sports people wanted to play, and they want to challenge the best country in that field. And I appreciated their disappointment, but nevertheless, our cause was superior, and we had to stick to it, because we're fighting for the entire community, both black and white, by the way. Black meaning Africans, colored, and Indians, as well as whites, because many whites did not like what was going on.
One of the 4 All Blacks who toured under the new honorary white status was 19-year-old winger Brian Williams.
And the way I justified it to myself was that if I could show them that I could compete and you know, maybe better the opponents, then that would strike a blow against apartheid.
There's no doubt from his point of view, that's justified. But still, we didn't want any team to come to South Africa, whether it was all white or all black. At that time, we were using sport to force the government to abandon apartheid.
So I think New Zealand saying to us, "You must stop this, we can't carry on this relationship," in fact was playing a role in us becoming more conscious that we had to do something about apartheid in sport.
But to see a black man, a young man of 19, coming and playing a star game would encourage our own blacks.
And of course, in 70, Brian Williams was an absolute star. I mean, he's a wonderful player, BG, and he ripped us apart in certain of the test matches, even though we went on to win the series.
Seems to me to be just above the grandstand height.
In New Zealand, protests against apartheid became increasingly vocal. During the Springboks tour in 1981, violent displays of social unrest made its way from the streets into the stadiums.
It put a tremendous pressure on sports people to put pressure on the government to say, change the policy. We can't tolerate this.
The Springboks were staying in the stadiums and they had to be herded in there with a blue cordon and barbed wire around them. I mean, so it wasn't very good conditions to prepare for a test match. But yet the rugby itself was unbelievable. It was competitive, it was strong, it was physical.
Wilson pulls it down. That's right.
So with all the political backdrop, we still wanted to play tough rugby against each other, and we still thought about nothing else than to beat the other.